But welcome everyone. I am so excited to have you join in tonight for how to write and publish a cookbook. This is our first workshop focused on cookbook writing, so I am eager to learn along with all of you. And it's such a pleasure to have Dr. Hattie Washington with us today. Obviously, the Detroit Writing Room is located in downtown Detroit, but being able to do this virtually, we can reach people like Dr. Washington, who is in Maryland. So that's one of the perks of this pandemic. And we'll get started. So, Dr. Washington, feel free to take it away.
All right. First, let me say hello and welcome everyone. And it's my pleasure to be with you and to share with you some of my experiences. Now, I'm a professor by career, I'm a cook by love. And so to go into writing the cookbook, I am in no way an expert. Just want you to know that right now. But I wanted to share with you each step of the way how I got started and why I got started and how my cookbook got to become Amazon #1 bestseller in six different categories. And it was an evolution, believe it or not. My experience of cooking was in the country when I lived as a little girl, where my stepmother cooked everything from the garden. Everything we ate was fresh. We killed pigs every year. We plucked our chickens. We got eggs and butter. We milked a cow. So everything until I was 11 years old was fresh from the garden before I knew anything about organic. And as I wrote in my first book, Driven to Succeed, I don't really think I had a candy bar until I was 11 years old. Because living in the country, you don't have candy unless my stepmother made the peanuts and sugar, what do you call it, peanut brittle. But as far as a candy bar, I think I was 11 when I got my first candy bar. So we were eating organic before I knew what it was. We put the manure on the vegetables and grew all of our vegetables. So much of my cooking had to do with fresh vegetables. Even when I moved to the city, I would always look for farmers markets and go to the vegetable part of the store because I had to have my fresh vegetables. Uh, and then another thing, my stepmother didn't measure anything. She didn't I don't think I saw a measuring cup until I was grown and married because the old fashioned cooks just knew how much to put in there. A pinch of this, a handful of that, two handful of flour, or a pinch of salt. And you would say, how much is a pinch? Or a dash of this. And so one of the challenges I had when I wrote my book was to write down the recipes. Because for years, I had been cooking all of these delicious dishes, and all of my family, my colleagues at the university would say, would you bring in your mac and cheese for the faculty meeting? Or would you bring in your pot of chili? Would you bring in your bread pudding? And sure, no problem. And so that's the way I cooked. And when I wrote my first book, Driven to Succeed, and in one of the chapters, I talked about growing up in the country, and my stepmother made those blackberry cobblers and apple pies and fried apples and fried chicken. And so people said, okay, now when is the cookbook coming out? I said, I don't plan to do a cookbook. And I got so many requests after my first book to say, Washington, that chapter made me so hungry. You got to tell me how to make those whole cakes, how to make those apple turnovers. So I kept thinking about it. And my daughter, who lives in Florida, wanted me to write down many of my recipes because she has two daughters. So she said, I need to be able to teach my daughters how to make some of your dishes. So when I started writing down my recipes, And then I thought, well, let me just write down as many as I could. So for the next 2 years, everything I cooked, I started measuring. When I made my bread pudding, I started measuring this. When I made my mac and cheese, I started measuring. So it took me almost 2 years to go through all of the things that my family loved for me to cook. And I would cook on a regular basis. I just started taking pictures and start writing those down. So now I decided, well, let me just check with the publisher and see what it would call to do a cookbook. And there are different levels of cookbooks. I'm going to start. Can I start with my? Let me go to the presentation so I can. I want to be able to see everybody too. Let's see. How can I? Um, Stephanie, how can I see people while I'm presenting?
Did you click the share screen button?
Okay, so because I want them to be able to, if I have a question, I want to be able to see the chat
I'll
boxes.
yep, I'll make sure to let you know if there's a question.
Okay, but I still want to see their faces. So I didn't, let me minimize this again. So let me do the share. Okay,
Share screen.
okay,
Here you go.
great. Alrighty. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes, we got it.
Okay. So again, my presentation will be experiential to share with you the things I know now that I didn't know before. And as I did my research, it was a lot of information out there, but it was somewhat disjointed. I may want to know one thing. By the time I read the one thing, then you got all these 10 other things that you need to know too. But I just want to go step by step so that I could know how to cut back to number one, which is the original question I asked in the first place. And so as I did my research, I started just putting things down in sequence, which is another thing I'm doing, another book that I'm writing also for persons going to self-publish. What are some of the things that you didn't know that you could have known, but you didn't know what questions to ask? And that's coming out in the new year. But this one, Cooking with Books, it was a fun topic that my writers group, I'm a member of the Maryland Writers Guild. And so they asked me to do a presentation last Thanksgiving when my book first came out. So Cooking with Books, and then of course, how to write and publish a cookbook. So the one of the things, as I say to people, if you ever wondered how to write and publish a cookbook. So I will start from my initial beginning. I say from soup to nuts. The proof is in the pudding. And if this were a workshop, Stephanie, in person, I would be bringing to the meeting one of my Southern homemade bread pudding with my honey rum sauce to dribble on top. But since this is virtual, I can't show you and let you taste my healthy bread pudding, as healthy as a bread pudding can be. So, but in any event, um, looking at the first part of it, a cookbook comes in many flavors. So as you start your cookbook, you may want to decide, do I want to do just a ebook? And then of course the ebook can be a tablet as well. Or you may just want to do a paperback. Or you want to do a paperback and you want to do a hardback. Now, if you notice, my hardback does not have a dust jacket. And you know, some hard books got the dust jacket. I didn't want to do a dust jacket for the cookbook because you're handling the cookbook in the kitchen. So this is what you call a case laminate. Uh, Anyone, have you heard that term before? When you go in to do upload your cookbook into Amazon, you have a choice of doing a dust jacket or what they call a hardback, but it's called a case laminate, meaning that the cover is right on the cardboard of the box of the book. And you see that you can't even tell that from the paperback, except the paperback is just softer. And this is a hardback, and it's called case laminate. So you got to make those decisions, and it's okay if you don't know what you want right now. But just know in the back of your mind, there are those types of books. And the other type is an audio book. My first book is being, in fact, I have an appointment to start doing the audio of my first book, Driven to Succeed. So I will be doing that, but I haven't decided about the cookbook, if I'm going to do that as an audio. The ebook took a while to get the ebook. Now the Driven to Succeed, which is a memoir, didn't take anything to do the ebook for that book. But for the cookbook, why do you think it took a long time and very strategic and technical to do the cookbook and the ebook? Anybody? Why do you think that took a longer time to do?
Was it the structure that had to be specific, or I don't know?
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, these are terms that you may want to remember. Has to be floatable, or it has to be fixed. And another word is flowable. You see floatable and flowable, flow. Now the memoir is considered flowable, meaning that if you look at my memoir on your phone, it has a different shape and a different configuration than looking at it on a tablet, because the pages flow based on what type of event and a device you're using. So that's flowable. But for a cookbook, I could not make that flowable because of the pictures of the food and the recipe. So if it were flowable, you have some recipes on one page with another picture of a recipe, and some of the pictures will be on another page because they will get all jumbled up because it's flowable. So a cookbook has to be fixed. But I did not want my ebook to just be fixed. I wanted to be fixed and interactive. And I was told that, oh no, you can't have it. You can't have it. Either it's flowable and interactive or fixed. I said, well, if I'm looking at the table of content and I want to jump to desserts, I don't want to go all the way through the book to find desserts. I want to click on the table of content. They said, oh no, that's not possible for a fixed cookbook. So I kept looking and kept asking my authors, and I'm a member of several authors groups, the Nonfiction Authors Association, the Alliance for Independent Authors, the Kindle Publishers Authors. So I remember several authors groups. So I kept asking my people, anyone know of anybody I want? This is what I want for my cookbook. So I finally found a company. So in other words, this ebook is fixed and is also interactive, which is unusual. And I think I'm getting ready to get an award for that. And on the back of an ebook, you need to know when you get an ebook on your phone, Kindle, when you buy it, there is no back cover. Have you ever noticed that? There's no back cover on your ebooks. I want a back cover on my ebook. Look at my back cover. That is too much time I put in that back cover not to have my back cover on the ebook. So again, I had to find another company. So I want the last page of my ebook to have the back cover, and I want it interactive. So we got it. So if you pull this up, you will find that we have the interactive table of content, and we have the back cover, and it's evolving. Another thing I want you to know, when you first do a cookbook and you put it out there, uh, even after you have it edited, there are going to be things in there that you're going to need to change. So you have to keep changing it, because being a cook, not a cookbook writer, even after you pay someone to edit your book, they're going to miss some stuff. So you just, one thing about KDP and Ingram Sparks, you can just keep uploading it every find something, and whoever buys the next one will get the revision. When you are a, what I call an intuitive cook, rather than a professional chef type of cook, you know your recipe like the back of your hand. So you may leave out a step because you know it. And when somebody tried to cook your recipe, they may say, oh, I went from peeling the potatoes to putting them in the oven. So what did I do in between? Many cooks know what to do in between. You don't tell them, peel the potatoes, wash the potatoes, because you would think they know to do certain things like that, right? But some people, what you tell them every step to do. And so you have to balance. You don't want to have a 15 steps by telling people everything you do. You wash the potatoes and then you put the potatoes in the pan. But first you didn't tell me to heat the pan. No, I didn't. So you just have to decide if you want 8 steps, what 8 steps you're going to use. And that people say, well, I didn't know what to do from the time I washed potatoes to the time I do the second. But that's something that when you get an editor to edit your book, they may even miss that as well. So that was a couple of things that I had, I would just know how to make it, and I may have left out a step, which was, to me, was common sense. But as you write your recipes, you find that you may want to go back and insert some things or even take some things out. If people are beginning cooks, they appreciate the steps. If somebody's a seasoned cook, they may say, well, I didn't really need to know that. So you got to do a nice balance between novice as well as experienced cook. So, but anyway, what type of book do you want? You can think about that. But as you start writing your book, there are certain steps that you keep in the back of your mind. First of all, in designing your cookbook, even though you may know you want a paperback, you want an ebook, how are you going to design your book? What do you want it to be? Do you want to talk about all desserts? That's fine. If you want to talk about just breakfast and appetizers, do you want to talk about just entrees or just holiday dishes? So there's a whole different ways of doing your cookbook. And I say to people, do your cookbook for the people who ask you to do a cookbook. If your mother said or your kid said, I want you to do a cookbook because I want to write down all the recipes that you've done, but then you're going to do a cookbook for them. And if the other people don't like it, at least you've done one for your family. And if that means your breakfast, your lunch, and your entrees and your desserts, then you do that for them. And then if you want to do a second one, which I don't plan to do, but I'm getting ready to do another one, it's called Hattie's Comfort Cooking During COVID. Because I've done a lot of cooking during COVID and been sharing with a lot of people my recipes that are not in this book. Some are and some not. So you do your cookbook to design it based on what you think your audience will enjoy. And then the second one is having your recipes kitchen tested. Now, this is a tricky one. If you're doing a cookbook for just your family, that's fine, because there are different levels of cookbooks. Say if you want to do a cookbook like, was that Elizabeth was saying? No, Sharon. I think Sharon was saying you put your recipes together for the family. So you may want to do cookbooks like your church group does, the Junior League or the Girl Scouts. They just collect all these recipes and then they put them together and maybe go to Staples and have it a spiral, a backing. And that's fine too. And you do it as a fundraiser. Or do you want to go to the next level and do a cookbook with a spine and have it published. That's good. And then if you want to go to the next level and have your recipes kitchen tested by a professional chef, now that's a whole different level. And the only way you would do that if you want your book to be on the public domain, or you want to enter it into some professional contest eventually. Well, I didn't want to do any entering, but my publisher at the time recommended that I should have them kitchen tested. I said, well, I've been kitchen testing them for 50 years. I've been cooking these dishes, for the last 60 so years, since I was 10 years old. So I don't need a kitchen tester. And so I decided, okay, well, what does that entail? Well, I did not know that there was such a thing as a foodographer. I said, what? If you have them kitchen tested, you got to have a foodographer to take the pictures. Well, first of all, what is a foodographer, and how much is that going to cost, and how long? So to make a long story short, I got a foodographer, and it was another year added on to having them kitchen tested by a professional chef, because he couldn't test everything. He only could test so many a week or a day. And then the foodographer, only thing he does is take pictures of food, just like it's a model. The way he come in and they put the light over here and the light over there, you would think they were taking a picture of a real model, the way they do food. But when you look in the book, we have some lovely pictures of the food that the chef professionally cooked, and the foodographer went to. I wouldn't, I known it was going to take that much longer and it was going to cost me that much, I probably would have stuck with the regular cookbook, even the one you get a staple spiral. But in any event, I'm glad I went through all of that, because the cookbook has really won a lot of awards and people really enjoy the cookbook. My pastor's wife said that she's buying two. One she's going to put on a coffee table, which is the hardback, and the other one's going to go in the kitchen, and she does not want her husband, who's my pastor, to touch the one on the coffee table, because it's a work of art. So I said, well, I never heard that before, but anyway. And then the next one is formatting your book. How you're going to format the book, and that's how you're going to lay it out. And we'll talk about each of those a little further. And then publishing and marketing your cookbook. Okay, before I go any further, are there any questions thus far in the comments?
We also had one more person join in. Her name is Sterling on the screen, just to let you know.
Okay. Who's the new person?
Is it Elettra? You're welcome to take yourself off mute if you want to say hello.
Hi, how is everyone doing?
Hi, this Sterling?
Yes, Sterling.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good, sweetheart. Where are you from?
I'm from Detroit.
Oh, okay. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So the next piece is, we talked about the steps. The step one in designing your book, there are certain preliminary things that you need to do right away. And I think Stephanie's going to get these to you, because I see some people taking notes. So the first thing you need to do is get an ISBN number. That's number one, and a barcode. And how many of you have heard of Bowker, Bowker, Bowker? That's where most people get their ISBN numbers from. It's the international place standards for book numbers. You cannot get anything published until you have an ISBN number that goes on the back of your book. See here, you have your ISBN number and you have a barcode. And when you go to Bowker, and that website, and I can give it, you don't go to bowker.com, it's www.myidentifier.com. www.myidentifier, IDENFI, TIER, myidentifier.com. And then you go on there, you can buy one ISBN number and a barcode, or you can buy 10, and it's cheaper to get the 10 per than to get one. And if you think you're gonna have to do another book, just get 10, because you probably, once you get one, you're gonna do another one, or you can get 100 and barcodes. And then you're gonna need, think about the price, how much you're gonna charge. And that's a tricky thing too. And they tell you to do research to see how many other cookbooks with your number of pages and your size of the book, how many others have that. And then you can get an idea. The range may be from $2.99 to $39.99. And you can decide how much you're going to charge. But Amazon will help you. When they look at your book and you upload it in Amazon KDP, they would recommend to you that you can do a certain price. Now, interesting, my hardback is $29.99, and the paperback is $24.99. Now, I had not uploaded my books into Amazon until recently when I did my ebook. They were in Amazon, but they were put there through Ingram Spark. Have you heard of Ingram Spark? Okay, write this name down, because everybody, Ingram Spark, INGRAM, Ingram Spark, SPARK. Ingram Spark is the international print on demand company, distribution. That means that you don't have to buy 1,000 books and keep in your warehouse and keep in your house anymore. They print on demand. So when anyone goes to Amazon to buy your book, it goes straight to Ingram Spark. And Ingram Spark will have them out to you. If you're an Amazon Prime member, have them out to you in 2 days. And that's a good partnership, rather than me having to have all of my books and me trying to mail them out to everybody. It's too much work. And you don't want to do that, although I have any number of books for my book sales and book signings. You have those, but people ordinarily don't have to do that anymore. So your price that you're going to, and on the back of your book, you will have two prices. You will have the United States price, and then you have a price for Canada. That's just standard. In Canada is always $3 or so more than the whatever price you decide to charge, the Canadian price. So that's on the back of your book as well. The next thing you're going to need before you publish is a LOC number, which stands for Library of Congress number. Now, soon as you get your ISBN number from Bowker and your barcode, and as soon as you have your cover design, you don't even have to have the whole book written. But as soon as you have your cover design and you have a description of your book that you're going to put on the back, you want to apply to the Library of Congress for your number, because that has to go on the inside of your book on your copyright page. So on your copyright page, you will have your Library of Congress number, which is standard. Can you see that? Library of Congress number. So before you can get registered for Amazon, Ingram Sparks, Barnes and Noble, wherever books are sold, you need your ISBN number with the barcode, and you need your Library of Congress number. So you can go on and apply for those. As soon as you got your title, your ISBN number, your barcode, and your cover, because you have to upload the cover when you apply for your Library of Congress number. Now your layout, you got to decide how you're going to lay your book out. What size book do you want to have? It's interesting, when I first did my cookbook, before I uploaded into Amazon, this was the size, which was a 9x10 book, because that's the size I like. That's the size I want. Okay? But when I got ready to upload my book into KDP, Amazon said, no, that's not the right size. We don't take a 9x10. It has to be 6x9, or it has to be 8.5 by 11. And I said, I don't want an 8.5 by 11. Well, that's all the templates we got. So you want your cookbook 6x9 or 8.5 by 11. So I had to take my little old 9x10, which had already been accepted by Ingram Spark. But if I wanted to be in KDP, Amazon, I had to change the whole size. So as part of my book that I'm writing, you need to back up a step and find out, what is Amazon telling you to do? What are their sizes? And then go from there, rather than just saying, I just like 9x10. That's the size I like. But if that's not the size that they want, and they can't publish that book, then you wasted that time. So many of these books I sell for half price at book sales. I mean, the same content, but it's not the size for Ingram Spark. So just know that your layout, and that's why I put that in step 1, because I had it there like step 3. After I've done all of my, send it up to Ingram Spark and so on, then I had to, if I want to do it on Amazon, that's what I had to do. So just something that you really need to be aware of. In selecting your recipes, I would say to anyone, what are your family's favorite recipes? Sharon, Elizabeth, what do they really love? If you're going to do a cookbook, you're going to do it from the heart. You're just not going to put some recipes in there that you don't even like yourself. Even if somebody say, oh, that is I love that bread pudding casserole. And it's not a casserole. It's good old Southern bread pudding. There's no casserole. And people, who don't like your cooking, but they're going to praise you, you know what your family likes. So I would say start with those recipes. And my bread pudding, I would say, is about one of the number 1 of my family. And then my fried chicken. And then you go on to different other things you've done over the years. As you cook, you find healthy ingredients, gluten-free ingredients. Some of your family now may be lactose intolerant. They can't stand gluten. So you learn how to cook now to please your family. Even though when you grew up in the country, everything was healthy. Now with all the processed foods and everything, you just can't eat the way you used to eat when you lived in the country. So you got to learn how to get those ingredients that are in the health food store or what have you, so that your family that you're cooking for, or your friends, or anybody who's trying to follow your recipes, can substitute their ingredients for this. And then we go to step 3. As you start writing now, you're gonna use Microsoft Word, or you're gonna use what they call plain text. And I would recommend that you start in Word, because most places will take Word. Amazon will take Word. You have Ingram Spark will take Word. And then it's easy to convert Word to a PDF format. Now you have, if you go with some other companies like BookBaby or Goodreads, they want it in text format, plain text. And it's easy to convert Word to plain text if you have the new Office, Microsoft Office. A lot of people don't even know the features they have until you have to use it. Then you say, well, how do you get from Microsoft Word to text? It's there. And all of that I teach people how to do if they were in a workshop, how to go from Word to text, how to go from Word to PDF, how to go from Word to a JPEG. And this may be foreign to many of you, but you'll get these terms as you start writing your book, and you know what it is that you have to do as you upload your book into Amazon. Okay, again, here are the different sizes I was telling you about. And what you need to know before you upload it and after you upload it into Amazon. It's very important to finish up, get your file ready to go into Amazon. There's certain things you need to do. And then after you upload it, it's very important for you to test it and also proof it. You ask Ingram Spark or you ask Amazon KDP to send you a copy that you uploaded. I don't care if it went through successfully. You still get that proof copy and look at it to make sure it meets your qualifications and meets your standards. Because you may get it and the picture's all faded, but it went through successfully. So you get a proof copy always. Then as far as software, if you really want to get into your own pictures and your own design, InDesign, I don't know if you heard of that. And if it's kind of expensive, you're not going to do any more books. I wouldn't recommend it, but InDesign is a template for a book. So if you're going to do any kind of book, whether it's a cookbook or regular book or fiction, or InDesign gives you the template. You put in your table of content here, you put in your this and your, they tell you everything to go in each of those. And by the time you finish your book, it's already formatted based on InDesign. And then Photoshop, if you're going to put any pictures in your book, even if your pictures of your grandkids or your dog or what, you want to make sure they meet the, what they call 300 DPI, quality of pictures for your book. And Photoshop can edit, if that's the word, edit your pictures and tell you what the present DPI of that picture is and let you know that's low resolution and that's not going to come across. Or they can sharpen it for you and tell you how many DPIs it is that you need for the book. So Photoshop is another software that you got to pay for. And again, I just want you to know these things. You may not want to get into it this deep, but you just need to know when you hear these words. You may hire somebody and they say, oh, I use Photoshop, I use InDesign. At least you've heard about it. You say, oh yeah. Or if you ask someone to do something, you say, are you using InDesign? And if they know that you know, they may say, oh yes, I may use InDesign. Then they may not charge you as much. But if you don't know anything and they won't tell you what they're using because they don't want you to know, because they're charging you $900. So if you mention, are you using InDesign or Photoshop? It's like, okay, well, I guess that'd be $200. So you know a little background on those. And then as we talked about before, paperback, hardback, or ebook. Now just know Amazon only does ebooks and paperback. They don't do it in hardbacks. So if you just want an ebook or a paperback, KDP, Amazon. And KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. Sometimes Kindle Digital Printing. That's and it used to be Create Space. You remember anyone heard of Create Space? Create Space used to be the Amazon, but now they've upgraded and improved. So now they call it KDP because Create Space got such a bad reputation. Even though they improved, they didn't want to use the same name because people say, oh, you guys still got Create Space. Oh, Lord, that has just been absolutely. So they changed the whole name because Create Space was causing people a lot of angst. So now KDP, they've improved on it, and that's good to upload your book. Again, looking at the different formats, as we talked about before, JPEG is usually for covers. If you're going to upload your book in Amazon, in Ingram Spark, or most other place, your cover has to be in JPEG. The interior of the book has to be in PDF, most times PDF. Now, if you upload it to, let me jump over to EPUB. EPUB is an ebook that's formatted only on Ingram Spark. But Ingram Spark only pushes their ebooks to Barnes and Noble because it's for the Nook and those readers. So therefore the EPUB it's not uploaded into Amazon. And I learned that the hard way because I paid to get my book converted by Ingram Spark, and they only did an EPUB. And I kept waiting to see it on Amazon, kept waiting about 2 months. And when I didn't see it, I mean, I called back to Ingram Spark. They said, oh, well, we only do the EPUB. And I said, so what's that? Well, we only do the ebook for Barnes and Nobles and the Nook. I said, what about the Kindle? Oh, no, that's another, you need Mobi. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know EPUB or Mobi. So Mobi right here is the format you need if you're going to do an ebook for KDP Amazon. I learned that the hard way. And now they got another format they call KPF, which is a little more upscale than Mobi. And if you do your ebook in KPF, it can be the way they explained it to me is both a combination of Mobi and EPUB, which means that it can be picked up by your Nook and as well as your Kindle. So I just uploaded the book that you see here as a KPF so that it can be picked up easily and utilize the interaction and the information on the back of the book. Okay, are there any questions? Because we can stop here. I see people want a break. Should I take a break, Stephanie? Because I don't know if we lost Elizabeth. She want to get a break or Sterling.
No,
Do we need to take a break?
Sharon has a question. I think we can keep going.
Okay.
Her question in the chat box says, may you explain the transition from Ingram Spark to KDP? You started at Ingram Spark and then moved to KDP, but KDP doesn't do hardback.
So I just clarifying, you said you started at Ingram Spark, and then you mentioned that Ingram Spark will put your books on Amazon.
Yes.
But then you uploaded things through KDP.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could kind of maybe discuss that process a little bit, that would be.
Okay. In order to get my book in an ebook for Amazon, I had to get it converted, but then they want you to do an author's page with Amazon. I just assumed that all of my other books that were on Amazon that were put on by Ingram Spark were also in my author's page. I didn't know I needed an author's page. And when I talked to Amazon, they said, no, only the books that have gone through KDP are on your author's page. And I said, why is that? They said, because the others were put on by Ingram Spark. I said, I don't understand the difference. They said, the difference is you can't take advantage of our countdown. You can't take advantage of our Kindle Select programs, whereby people who will read any of your pages in your book, you get credit for that. And you couldn't utilize that as long as they were on Amazon, put on by Ingram Spark. So they really weren't in the system of what they call KDP system. They were just there. People could buy them through Amazon, but it wasn't in the KDP system. So I said, well, why don't I have it in KDP? They said, we don't know. So when I called back to Ingram Spark and said, well, why did you tell me that you put it on Amazon? I could see it, but I'm not part of the KDP. I can't take advantage of the ads. I can't take advantage of the Amazon bestseller and all of that. And a lot of things people don't want you to know. So I put my Driven to Succeed through KDP. So that's on my author's page. My ebook is on my author's page. And now this book is on my author's page. But unless you put them through KDP, you can't utilize the features that are on Amazon, which you have a lot of good features on Amazon for books. And so Ingram Sparks is a good print on demand, but they don't do a lot of distribution. They don't have any contests. They don't have any promotions. They're just a good print on demand company.
So you kind of recommend that you kind of have to do both.
Yes.
Okay.
If I had to do it again, I would do KDP first. Then take advantage of their countdown, pre-launch activities, and get to be Amazon #1 bestseller. And once you start with them, you got to keep it exclusive to Amazon for 90 days. And after 90 days, then you can put it on Ingram Spark and on any other platform that you want. But I would recommend starting with Ingram Sparks for your ebook and your other book. But your paperback can also go to Ingram Sparks and Amazon at the same time, which is what I recommend. But your ebook has to be exclusive to Amazon for 90 days. And that's okay, because you want to take advantage of the Amazon bestseller. You want to take advantage of the ebook countdown. I gave it away for free for 5 days. And that's got people clicking on it, because Amazon rewards you for the clicks. People just reading your book and etc. And so that's what I recommend to people. But I didn't do it that way, because I learned, and we were told, Ingram Sparks is the #1. But of course, they didn't tell me that they didn't do the ebook for Amazon. They only did it for Barnes & Noble. And I waited 2 months looking for it on Amazon, only to find out that EPUB is not for Amazon. It is only for Barnes & Nobles and Nook and some of the other books, A Million and so on.
And then for hardback, you have to use Ingram Spark.
Okay, yeah, the hardback is for Ingram Spark. Yeah, because Amazon only does the ebook and the paperback. So if you wanted the hardback for all three, then you can go on and put all of those in Amazon. But Amazon only holds you to 90 days for the ebook. So you can put all two of them on Amazon and KDP and Ingram Spark at the same time, but not the ebook. You got to be exclusive for 90 days for Amazon. Any other questions? Which was a good question. Okay, let's see. The size, InDesign, JDP, Mobi, KPF. Just remember KPF. You won't hear that a lot because that's new. That just is, it's not even, I don't think it has even been announced. I happen to know it because my guy who just did my ebook told me about it. He said, so that is coming, but I'm gonna put your ebook into KPF so that you can utilize all of the things that are coming. If a person has a Nook or they have a Kindle, they both can pull up your ebook. And that's rare. And and when I apply for the award that Amazon wants me to apply for, they're looking at my cover, they're looking at the interactiveness of it, they're looking at the back cover, that's the last page. And if you look at the front cover, and I don't have it here, the front cover of the ebook has the spine on the left side of the book. which is different. And if you look at my Driven to Succeed on my author's page, it has the same thing. Has a spine right down the front so you can see the spine. Only on the ebook, because on the ebook, you only see the front. You don't see the back cover, you don't see the spine. So I wanted the spine to show, and I wanted the back cover to be on as the last page of my ebook, which is, Amazon even told me we've never seen that before. So they like that. They said, that's a good idea. I said, well, then y'all need to pay me for my idea. So marketing your book. As you look at your KDP, you can market your ebook and your paperback on Amazon. And as I talked about before, Kindle Select is a good program to be in, but your ebook has to be on there for 90 days, exclusive. I had my EPUB book on Ingram Spark, remember? But I couldn't even take advantage of the Kindle Select because Amazon they asked me in the application, is your book any other place? Well, no, the Mobi was not any other place because Ingram Spark didn't do the Mobi. So I said no, which I was telling the truth that I knew. But they came back and said, no, we cannot do the Kindle Select because we found that your ebook is out in the cyber world digitally. I said, can't be, because I just got it converted to Mobi. They said, no, you have an EPUB someplace. I said, well, yeah, but you all don't have it. Yeah, but no, you cannot have it any other place but with us for 90 days. I said, well, isn't this a blip? So I called back to Ingram Sparks. I said, well, you all are just messing me up. Take my EPUB off of my account because I'm not doing anything with it. With you all, you're not promoting it. I mean, just take it off. They said, well, it's going to take 72 hours for us to remove it. And then it's going to take another 3 weeks that it still may be out in the hinterlands of cyberspace. I said, wow. So, but anyway, I told them to take it off. So when I called back to Amazon 2 days ago, they said, you're good to go. That you can enter the first book, Driven to Succeed, in the Kindle Select because we don't see it in the place out in the cyberspace. So just remember that if you want to enjoy all of the benefits of Amazon, make sure you don't even put your EPUB on Ingram Spark because that's considered out in the hinterlands. So I took it off, and after 90 days with my other book on Amazon, then I go back and put it on Ingram Spark. So again, Kindle Select is one of the benefits. Another benefit is called Look Inside. So if you go on Amazon and look at some of the author's book, or you look at my 2 books, it qualifies for Look Inside. And what that simply means is they send out emails to their people. And they would say, if you want to look inside of a good cookbook, you may want to check out Aunt Hattie's cookbook, such and so and so. But if you want to look inside a good memoir that's inspirational and such and so, you may want to look in Driven to Succeed. So, but you got to apply for it, and they have a committee that will look at your book and read it and see, is it something they want to promote every now and then. So that's another look inside. A lot of people don't know that they can apply for it. And then a countdown. If you're going to launch your book, your cookbook, or if you're going to launch anything, they give you a countdown. And every day they send out an email to people. You got many of these emails, I'm sure yourself. 10 days before I had his cookbook will be launched, such and so. Take advantage of this discount. 6 days before, so it's a countdown that Amazon does for you that Ingram Sparks does not do. So these are all things you can benefit by being in the KDP Amazon. And now Ingram Sparks, the benefit of them, they do POD, print on demand. They also do hard copy. They do the case laminate, and they also do distribution. So, that's why people go through Ingram Spark. Even Amazon. Amazon, when you order from Amazon and you're a Prime member, Ingram Sparks prints all their books, even if you're not in Ingram Spark. So Ingram Sparks is the big dog on the street. So it's good to be a member of both, but you got to know the nuances of Amazon, so you won't have to be taking it off of Ingram Sparks and wait 90 days. And they say, well, it's going to take 72 hours. Then it's going to take another 4 weeks. It's like, well, why didn't I know this before? Why didn't somebody tell me this? So you know these things now. And then as far as marketing, you got an email list. All of us got an email list. Family and friends. Those are your first buyers of your book. And then you've heard of constant contact, everybody? Constant contact is a mailing, it's sort of like Access, a word database with all the addresses of all your friends and family, and you collect addresses, you collect emails. How many of you have a website? Okay, and if you don't, it's okay. If you send out emails to your family and friends for Christmas, you may say to them, would you share this with whoever you think is interested, and ask them to send me their email so they can be part of my database. Because you want to start building up your database, so when you get ready to have a launch, you want more than your family and friends to buy your books. So one of the first things you want to do is start building up your email list. In Constant Contact, they would take up to 10,000 emails, and you can send them all out at once. I just did one today, and Stephanie, I thought I sent it to you, but I just said Happy Veterans Day to everybody, and you keep your people engaged. And I just said every opportunity you find, you send something out to your people, and just say Happy Veterans Day. We're gonna, honor our heroes, and I just gave a little piece about, I don't know how we can give thank you for your service, and we're gonna give all these recognitions on Veterans Day. Yet you got a veteran right down the street, homeless and hungry and cold, and I just said it's unfathomable how we can allow that for our veterans. Yet we're gonna honor them on one day, and yet we're gonna see them cold and hungry. So I just put that little piece in there because that bothers me. Thank you for your service, and don't know where our veterans are, whether they're homeless or what have you. And then I recognize another little boy who was 9 years old. He saw a homeless vet one day. He had that sign that I had in my newsletter. I'm a vet, I'm hungry, I'm homeless, please help. And that touched his heart. And his mother said he came back home and said, what's a vet? So she told him what he was and what he had done. So I think he was 5 at the time. And he started collecting toothbrushes, and every time he got his allowance, he put together these little packages for the vets. So now he has a little company. He's 9 years old. And so I put that little piece on my newsletter, help Tyler to help the vets. But the whole point of your email list, you keep your people engaged. So when you do have a book that's coming out and you contact your people, they know that you're going to share something else other than saying, buy my book. So my newsletters go out every month, sometimes twice a month, depends on, like today, Happy Veterans Day. And I'm always trying to give them nuggets of inspiration, some type of something to keep them encouraged and inspired, especially during all of this COVID. And what I've been doing for the last several months, I've been giving out like 10 books, cookbooks, or 10 Driven to Succeed books. I've been giving out a couple of recipes. And so that sends them to my website. to get the recipe off the website. Then they get to see some pictures, and I have brain teasers for the kids on my website, some type of inspirational poem. So the whole purpose of your email list is to keep growing it. And at the end of my emails, I always say, share this with your family and friends. And if they want to get these themselves, they can send me their email. And that's what. So MailChimp is another one. You've heard of MailChimp. You probably got in some of these junk mails and you don't know what they use. If you look at the bottom of it, it'll say Constant Contact or MailChimp. MailChimp is a little cheaper than Constant Contact, but I think Constant Contact is a little more sophisticated, a little more professional than the MailChimp. But if you're just starting out, you can go with MailChimp. And then the Access is a database through Microsoft Word. So these two you have to pay for. Access doesn't give you any pictures, any logos, you can pick from some pictures from each of these, but Access is just a database, just does a email. Then social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. I have my Constant Contact. When I do an email, a newsletter, I have it hooked to my Facebook, hooked to LinkedIn and Twitter. So that when you do one, all of your social media get the same thing, except they put it in their format. And they give you a link. Constant Contact would give you a URL link. So when Facebook does my newsletter, they put the caption up there on Hattie's workshop with the Detroit Writing Center, tune in. And then when they go to Facebook, they'll see the picture and see more. So therefore, but they do it the way they do it, but at least they get the whole newsletter. Okay. And then a podcast. If you know anybody who does podcasts, or you've been on one, Facebook Live. Some people do Facebook Live themselves. It's like, hello, I'm Hattie Washington. I have a cookbook coming out. I have a cookbook that's been converted to an ebook. Get your treat. It's not a trick. Get your treat. It is 7% discount between now and such and so. So don't miss out. So check my database at www blah, blah, blah. So do your own Facebook Live and then go on Facebook. And then you have radio interviews, local TV shows. I had a WJZ TV. I don't even know if that's active because I'm not in the what you call the Facebook Live share. Let me see something. I thought I saw it come up. I can't, it won't let me open it, but it's a TV spot I did about the cookbook. And it's like coffee with the morning show. And they were talking about my cookbook. I did it last November, as a matter of fact, about the same time. It was November the 9th, I believe, talking about the cookbook that had just come out, the hard copy of the cookbook. Now over this side, you have tastings and book signings, pre-launches. Amazon is good for pre-launches, the countdown and etc. Then you have your launch. Now before COVID, I had a launch of my cookbook where I had all of my hors d'oeuvres were from my cookbook. So as people ate the little hors d'oeuvres of the crab balls and the bacon wrapped around the Brussels sprout and this, and it's, oh wow, this is so good, this is so good. They're all from my cookbook. As a matter of fact, the chef who did a lot of my kitchen testing, he came over and made some of the dishes for me, brought them over. So that went very, very well. And you have different workshops, conferences. I went to the Congressional Black Caucus because my book was being featured as a featured author for the Congressional Black Caucus. And I took my bread pudding and I had the Bunsen burner and I had my sauce on one side of the chafing dish and the bread pudding. And people came in the convention center, they kept smelling something. They kept smelling my bread pudding. And they were wondering, what is that smell? And so before I knew it, now they had about another 50 or so authors that had been selected too. My line was draped all the way around the convention floor because people were smelling my bread pudding. It's like, now what is that smell? Oh, that's the lady over there who got the cookbook. And I sold so many cookbooks because people said after they smell the bread pudding, then they taste the bread pudding. Like, I have buying this just for the bread pudding. And then one said, well, what's in it? I said, well, it's in the book cookbook. But this tastes so light and it's not that sweet. So did you put sugar in it? I said, it's in the cookbook. so that was really a good, so go to conferences with your books and go one step further. Because I started not to take the bread pudding because by the time I cook it and go down to Washington and take it out and got my Bunsen burners, like, oh my goodness. So I had several people working with me, of course. And but that was a big hit. And look, for lunch that day, they had the nerve to have for dessert bread pudding. And everybody who tasted my bread pudding were saying, this is not bread pudding that they serve for lunch. This is dry. It doesn't have any flavor. And so many people came up and said, Washington, did you see that bread pudding they had for lunch? I said, yes, I saw it. So once you taste my bread pudding, it's like, I can't believe they got bread pudding for lunch. I did not know that, but that was so funny. Book clubs, you're going to speak at any number of book clubs. Restaurants. Last year this time, on Saturday, you've heard, how many of you have heard of, you may not have, Ben's Chili Bowl? One of the landmarks in Washington. All of the presidents.
Yes, one of my favorite spots.
Huh?
One of my favorite spots in DC.
Oh my Lord. Ben's
Yes.
Chili Bowl. Now their chili is not as good as mine, but because we had a chili cook-off. But I had my book signing there at Ben's Chili Bowl. Had so much media, President Obama had been to Ben's Chili Bowl. Everybody's a wonderful landmark in Washington, D.C. So I had I call it chili cook-off at Ben's Chili Bowl. And people had to see which of the chilies they like better. So I said to the owner, Virginia Arlene, don't tell them which is yours, because I know mine is better. So let them taste the chili. So after they taste all the chili, they said, we're going to name this Aunt Hattie's Chili Bowl, because people out of 8 people, they chose my chili. So I told them, I said, y'all got to change your chili. Give me part of your store so I can come down one day and serve my chili. And bookstores, I'm always at bookstores, Barnes and Nobles and other bookstores that are off the beaten path. In Florida, there's a lovely, lovely bookstore called San Marco Bookstore in Florida. The cutest, quaint bookstore. And I love going, every time I go down there, they want me to come and do a book signing. And then Rehoboth Beach in Delaware, they have the cutest bookstore. And in Martha's Vineyard, these are places I like to, when I go, I like to do a book signing there because they're very quaint and cute. You don't have to be at all the Barnes and Nobles and all of the big bookstores. I like those little cute bookstores that you really get a personal feel for what you're all about. And churches, don't forget churches. My church has a bookstore and they stay out of my book. And I tell them, I said, why don't you just order a lot of books? Well, we're not supposed to order over 50 books. Well, I may not be available. And so they don't want to order them from the England Sparks. They want me to bring them. So you got a personal touch and we want you to autograph them. So, but churches, they love good books and they love to promote your books. Now, in summary, are there any questions thus far? Because I want to sum up basically what we've been talking about. How's our time, Stephanie?
You got about 14 minutes.
Okay, I want to summarize where we are. What goes into designing and writing a book again? Just summary. Select your favorite recipe, your favorite recipes. And that's always many of the workshops I've attended, and I talked to other cookbook authors. many will tell you that they made a mistake and tried to just put down stuff that they know how to cook, but they hadn't tried it with their family. So if you know that you think they're going to like it, but you haven't tried it with them, pick your favorite recipes. Then you know you can feel good about that cookbook, and you can have your granddaughter talking about, oh, this is grandmama's brownie, and this is they can talk about it. As a matter of fact, my granddaughter went with me to the San Marco bookstore in Florida when I went down for the book signing. She has 2 recipes in the cookbook. So put your kids' recipes in there. And oh my goodness, she was talking about, you want to buy my grandmama's cookbook? I have 2 recipes in here on page 29 and 36. And people thought that was so cute, but she was so proud of that book. And I just found out, I was telling Stephanie, my daughter was looking for the cookbook, and my granddaughter had given the book to her girlfriend to take home so her mother could make Cameron's recipe that she had in the book. And so my daughter said, well, why didn't you get the book back? She gave her the whole, she said, why don't you take the picture of it with your phone and let her take the recipe? But no, she gave her the whole book, and my daughter was looking forward to bake something that she wanted to cook. But in any event, make sure that you put your favorite recipes in there. As far as kitchen tested, I wouldn't do that again. I mean, if I can't write them the way I cook them, and have somebody to edit it who is a cookbook editor, I'm not going to go through having them again. Now, they want you to have some pictures and nice pictures, and the foodographer is going to put the light over here. I don't know if I'm going to do that again. But just know, make that decision if you want to go through the kitchen testing and getting a foodographer and etc. And include the recipe, as I said, of family and friends. In the back of my book, I call And Beyond. I have cookbook recipes of different family and friends that I know they can cook. You know they got the good old butter pound cake and that potato salad and different things you like. Include those in your book, because guess what? They're going to be the ones to promote your book too, because they're going to say, I'm in there on page 126. I'm on page 136. And so they're going to be absolutely honored that you ask them to put their recipe in there, but they're going to sell those books in because they're in there as well. So include those. And I have a resource directory in the back of the book that we won an award just for the resource directory. And things like, what's the difference between brown eggs and white eggs? What's the difference between regular salt and sea salt? Why everybody should have lemon and vinegar? Why everybody should be cooking with lard? And people say, what? Cooking with lard? I haven't had any cooking with lard since I used to visit my grandmother in the country. Now lard is considered a good fat. Because back in the 70s, when everybody was saying, you know, cholesterol this and don't eat this, that's going to cause cholesterol, and people start cutting out all the fat in the body. And the body starts looking for that fat. But they got Crisco instead, and they got margarine instead, which are not food. They're one molecule away from being plastic. It's a non-food. But yet we start eating those because they're fat-free. So I got 2 articles in there written by a professor at Johns Hopkins and one by a professor at Harvard. It says why everybody should be cooking with lard. Lard is a good fat. So stop pulling that fat off your chicken. That's a good fat. And you're going to pull the fat off the chicken, yet you're going to eat Crisco and margarine. And they're not even fat. So you need some fat in your body to keep you looking young, as opposed to that. So again, those articles, and then of course your index. We have an index in the back of the book that can help you. And indexing is a skill. So when you're writing the book, you want to do a good index. There's a procedure for that. Then of course you'll get into your formatting the book. We talked about your photos, the recipes, again, to make sure that someone reads it, because you know how to cook it, so you didn't leave a step or 2 out. And what text are you going to use for your font? You want to use a font that's understand. Don't get fancy and do curly cues and this script. People can't read that. So just stay plain when you choose a font. For usually it's Arial 12, number 12 size font, Arial. And then marketing your book and publishing your book. All of those have certain skills. And this book, again, that's the front and the back of the cookbook. Oh, and the money from my books, I donate to my scholarship fund for foster kids. I raised foster kids for 22 years in Hattie's Place. So the Lord had me to dedicate the money from my books to the Unhatted Scholarship Fund to pay for these foster kids to go to college, because otherwise they wouldn't even get in college if they didn't have a way. And they have to stay on campus because they're homeless after they're in when they leave foster care. So right now, with the pandemic, it's very difficult trying to get them taken care of and given care package and all kinds of things. They're really suffering with this pandemic. So then here's your marketing aspect. You can have your books a 3D as well as plain. You can have an ebook, a paperback, and have it in hardback as well. And then book signing. And then this is my Amazon #1 bestseller sticker. And that's where you eventually wants to get to. And just in conclusion, I have this in my cookbook too, a recipe for a happy life, a pinch of prayer for a purpose, a dash of dedication to a cause, a handful of hugs for the heart, a spoonful of smiles for the soul, a forkful of faith for God's favor. Marinate them all together with patience and persistence. Bake until golden and serve with tender love and care. So that's the poem that I have in my book, and I use it quite a bit for different other things that I do. So again, I want to thank you very much, Stephanie, and all of the people who are here. It was my pleasure to share with you my process. Not to say I am a professional cookbook writer or all of that. I'm just sharing with you step by step what I went through and some of the pitfalls that I encountered so that you wouldn't encounter those when and if you decide to write a cookbook. And I am available, Stephanie, if anybody has any questions after today, because I do help people if they have any questions about publishing, not on a cookbook, but any book, because of my memoir. Also, I've gone through different things with that. So I share my experience with people who are interested in writing a book.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. That's so fantastic. And I do want to remind everyone, a portion of your tickets from tonight are going to the scholarship fund. So thank you for supporting that cause. I do want to make sure we have a couple questions, or we do have one question in the chat box, and we can ask others too until 6:30. But Sharon had one that she left asking about kitchen testing and where do you find a source for kitchen testing and how much that might cost.
My foodographer knew of a chef, because naturally that's all he did was take pictures of food. So he knew of a chef and he recommended him. And so since he knew him, they worked out very nicely coordinating the pictures with the chef. So if you don't know anybody, I guess you can just look into Google it. But yeah, I ended up paying the chef like $2,000. And then he wanted me to buy the ingredients for everything he was kitchen testing. But then he felt sorry for me because he knew I was taking care of my foster boys. So he decided, well, I tell you what, I have the restaurant, because he was a chef at a restaurant. I have the restaurant to donate the food as I cook it. So the restaurant did, so that worked out nicely. So it was still paid him $2,000. And the foodographer was another $1,500. And that was cheap. That was a discount because they have to keep going back. Every time the chef cooked so many dishes, he would try to do at least 10 at a time. So he had to keep going back. So it was a pretty penny. I wouldn't do it again, I don't think.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Has anyone gotten the ebook? Well, good. It's $3.99 instead of the $12.99. So you can go. Did you give them that email to go straight to Amazon to my author's page? Don't go to the regular page. Go to my author's page, and that's where it's $3.99. If you go to the regular page, it's $12.99. So go to my author's page. It's on sale now. It's still part of my treat. And I don't know if I got to show you one of my advertisements, but thanks for Halloween, I had a treat, no trick. And the treat was 7% discount on my ebook. So come up with those little ideas for your books that you're coming out to give them some type of prize or gift or something so that they can buy it.
Eleni, go ahead. You can talk off mute if you want.
Oh, okay. I thought I had some more questions.
Sorry, I was just saying that Amazon is not very popular in Australia, and we don't. They don't really print and publish things here. So, and I know other friends of mine in America have, but it's not very popular here. They don't have it. So I guess I was hoping to take away from today is how do I approach publishing houses? You know, like what's the first step, or what do I need to be aware of?
But Eleni,
Yeah.
is that Amazon has people all over. They have people in Australia, Japan, Mexico, because I have my books in Mexico.
Yeah,
But the ebook,
Yeah, but it's not. They don't do that. Like I was.
They don't have Amazon in. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. But if you're interested in publishing any type of book,
My cookbook.
okay. Do you have Amazon.com? And you can call them and see, because on my list of where my book is distributed, they have Australia on the list.
Yeah, they have a website here. They started 3 years ago, but they don't. What's it called? When I was looking up to go through the process, it's not something that is done from Australia. I don't know. It's maybe I need to contact them and see. Maybe I can find the right.
Call them, because my book, I have Amazon.com. That's United States. Yeah. Amazon.uk, Amazon.ca, which is Canada and Japan. Yeah. I mean, they have about 25 different Amazon. And with it being the number one distributor now, I would just call the Amazon.com. Can you Google Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you Google them, they have a contact me platform, and you can put your email there, or you can put a phone number for them to contact you, and they will call you back. Okay. So when you Google them, go to help. Under help, it says contact us.
I'll be able to find it.
Yeah, how do you want us to contact you, by email or call? And then they will get right back to you. They're very good about that. And just check on that. I would like to know how you're coming along with that. You have my information, right? Because if so, I can ask them myself how the people from Australia get in touch with them. So maybe Stephanie, I don't know, we could follow up or something, but I would like to help her see how to get that done.
Email with everybody. And Eleni too, like, just because you're in Australia, if you want to pitch traditional publishers in the United States, you still can do that. You know, yes. Basically finding the cookbook publishers, and some of them you might need a literary agent for, or a cookbook agent, in order to get in front of them. But just because you're in Australia doesn't mean that you can't reach out to traditional publishers here in the US.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like where do I begin? Like I think that's the thing. Like, who do I contact? What do I look for? That's that was.
Well, I would just say just get started writing, because believe it or not, that's why I say favor, because once you get it written, it's going to come together. So I would just keep on writing and get in an authors group. The group that I'm in, called Alli, A-L-L-I, is out of London, Alliance for Independent Authors. So before I became an independent author, I was a member of the American Authors Association, which was for traditional publishers. So the Alliance, Ollie, they have people calling in because they do podcasts from all over. In fact, a lady the other day was from Australia that was on the podcast.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hattie, I saw on your cookbook that you have a icon, Cook Look Publishing.
Yes.
Is that a publisher you worked with, or?
Actually, it was a publishing company that my marketing guy developed, because at the time I was with a traditional publisher and I wanted the book to be out for Mother's Day because I dedicated the book to my stepmother. And the traditional publisher, now this is like November, and she said, oh no, I won't be able to have that done for Mother's Day. And I said, well, why not? She said, because I got like 20 books ahead of you. I said, so what does that do with my book? I want it out for Mother's Day. She said, well, we definitely won't be able to do that. So that's when my marketing guys formed the Cookbook Publishing Company. And that's where I used for my cookbook the first time around. And then after I became my own publisher, Washington Publishing Enterprises, then I put the Cookbook as an imprint under my Washington Publishing Enterprises. Because otherwise, from the time you write a book, and if you are accepted by a traditional publisher, you're at their mercy. Like, when they're going to publish it? You're like, no, I want at least 9 months. Remember I said I want at least 9 months? But yeah, but I wanted, we're finished with the book in November. So why is it going to take, because you got 20 authors in front of you? I didn't think that I need to wait for 20 authors. So that's when I went into publishing my own book. Now, if you notice the Cookbook, I only use that for my own book. Yet I want to eventually next year publish other people's cookbooks, and as well as Washington Publishing Enterprises is mainly for my books right now. But next year I plan to launch that off and publish other people's book by the time I go through each step myself. Because I want to make sure I know what I'm doing, and at each step I know who to call and what not to do, and etc. before I put somebody else through that. So what I'm doing there with a lot of people, I got a call after I get off of here, a girl who's trying to publish something, she can't get it uploaded into Ingram Sparks. So she's, I need your help, I need your help. So she's been calling me all week, and I think I've given her 10 sessions. I told her, I said, I need to be your coach, because each step of the way, some people just don't know what to do. They need somebody to hold their hand each step of the way, and that's what I want to do when I start my own publishing company to help people. So right now, I'm just helping 1 or 2, 4 or 5 people, including my pastor, who wants to publish. Because I told him, pastor, you need to publish your stuff. So now that he's publishing, he's like, Washington, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I need you to read this. Like, I'm not publishing yet, pastor. That's next year. So, but in any event, so that's what the Cookbook was for, that particular purpose.
Well, I know we're a little over 6:30, so I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but thank you so much, Hattie. This was a pleasure, and I learned a lot. I think everyone else did too. I'm going to send around the recording once it's done downloading so everyone can have it to review. I'll include Hattie's email on the email recap with this video, so you guys can reach out to her if you have questions. But I wish you all the best of luck on your cookbook writing journeys. And if we can be of any help here at the writing room, we do have editors and people who do help with coaching along the way. So
that's wonderful. It's been my pleasure, Stephanie, to be able to do this and to share. This is amazing. I did the workshop for my Writers Guild. And I tell people that I'm not a professional cookbook, but they got so much out of it. One lady said, because you were grassroots and you just started, I felt less intimidated by somebody who's comedy, published 13 books and so on. And I said, well, I tell you the way it is. I tell you what I've learned, mistakes I've made, and you know, I just have to be real with you. So there's a lot more I need to learn, but I will share with you as I go, so you won't make some of the same mistakes that I made and cost me money and time. And I don't want you to do that. So I'm just happy to share in any way I can.